Hey guys, Paul from UltimateFatBurner.com here. Today we're going to talk about creatine results. In my opinion, it's important that you have realistic expectations about creatine, because if you don't, you may not feel like this awesome supplement is working for you. I'll explain more in just a couple of seconds. Stick around. Don't go anywhere. Okay, welcome back. Two small things before we get started. One, when I talk about creatine results, I'm talking about results from creatine monohydrate. It's the version of creatine that's supported by a ton of clinical data. If you're using another form of creatine and not seeing any results, that might be the reason. The other thing you need to know is that there is such a thing as creatine non-responders. That's right, a small percentage of you guys won't see any results from this supplement. Why? Well, no one knows for sure exactly, but experts suspect that these people's muscle saturation levels of creatine is already so high that additional supplementation has no effect. Okay, so with that out of the way, let's talk about creatine results. So let me start this by telling you a story. It's a short story, so don't be alarmed. From 2000 to 2013, I owned a supplement retail store, and almost every day I'd have guys and girls coming in and asking me what the best supplement was for weight training and bodybuilding. I'd always say the same thing: creatine monohydrate. Now, probably 90% of them bought it immediately on my recommendation. Now, the other 10% said something like this: nah, you know what, creatine garbage, it's crap, I tried it and it didn't work. So I'd say something like, why do you say that? What makes you feel like it didn't work? And every single time they'd say something like this: I tried it, it worked great, I gained 8 pounds in a week, then I stopped, lost all the weight, it doesn't work. Unfortunately, this is a common mistake. When you take creatine, you're going to gain some weight rather quickly. How much weight depends on a number of factors, including your physical size, your dosage, genetics, and so on, but it can be as much as 5 to 10 pounds. This is not muscle. Don't make any mistake about that. This is water weight, and this will disappear shortly after you stop taking the supplement. Now, creatine does a great job of drawing water into the muscle cells, so the first creatine result you'll notice is that you look bigger and more pumped. However, this is just a harmless side effect and has nothing to do with whether or not creatine actually works. Now, if those 5 to 10 pounds are water weight, how much actual muscle mass can you expect to gain when taking creatine? Well, unfortunately, that question is impossible to answer because there are so many variables in play here: genetics, diet, training, rest, and so on, right? However, the gains you do get are a result of your body's adaptive response generated by the extra work you're able to do. Okay, so what the heck does that mean? Well, think about it this way. Creatine provides the raw material for the energy creation process in the muscle cell. In other words, it provides the raw material for work. If, for example, prior to taking creatine, you could bench press 225 pounds for 10 reps, and now you can do it for 12 reps, then your growth comes from your body's adaptive response to those 2 additional reps that you weren't able to do previously. Does that make sense? In other words, your growth is a result of your body's adaptation to extra work. Now, here's the kicker. It's still up to you to do the work. In other words, if you now have the ability to do 12 reps at 225 but stop at 10 because those last 2 reps are a lot of work, you're not going to see much new muscle mass because you're not pushing yourself far enough to benefit from the extra energy creatine supplementation provides. Does that make sense? So to sum up, creatine monohydrate definitely works. The science is clear. What you'll notice as the main creatine result is the ability to perform more reps. But if you're expecting to look like Ronnie Coleman after taking a couple of weeks of the stuff, your expectations are not realistic. And if you're expecting to phone in your workouts and reap massive gains, you're wasting your time and money. Creatine is just one part of a chain that includes training, diet, rest, nutrition, supplementation, sex, and genetics. There are no supplements that allow you to bypass this reality. All right, guys, thanks so much for watching. Hope that gives you a realistic overview of the sort of results you can expect from creatine. If you enjoyed this video, please do give us a thumbs up, and of course, leave a comment about your own experiences with creatine. And if you haven't subscribed to this channel, please do so now. YouTube will send you a notification whenever we post new content, so you'll never miss anything. I'd also recommend watching my 10 benefits of creatine video, which you can also find below. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you again really soon.